Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. It's time to look at some online tourney results. It's been like 2 weeks now since the last video, but we have a bit of a evolution here in the online tourneys. There's actually quite a few tourneys to look at here. I think I have 6 different tournaments we're going to look at because there are a lot of decks right now that are doing well, including the return of the Arc Piles. Yes, Arc Pile decks are now coming back in full force in the meta, and it's really exciting because I'm a huge Arceus fan, and the format's looking pretty cool right now as we head into Toronto. Obviously, as I'm recording this, Sacramento is going on right now, but they haven't started the stream, and we don't really know what people are playing yet, but I'm excited to see what people bring to the tables in Sacramento. But it's going to be important to look at the online tourney results too, and like I said, from the looks of it, decks like Arc Piles are starting to come back into the meta again, which is pretty exciting to see, and that makes me happy as an Arc player. But yeah, if you're new to the second channel here, make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already, and leave a like in the video if you're going to go on to enjoy and all of that good stuff. And without further ado here, let's take a look at some online tourney results. So start off, we got the Tournament of Doom to take a look at here. So yeah, the Tournament of Doom, we do have the winner being a Charizard deck. This is the most recent big tournament. All these tournaments have over 100+ players, but we do have Arvinzard winning. Does play that one of Mew EX, which is an interesting tech card to play in Arvinzard. I'm not sold on the Mew myself. Like, I don't know if the Mew is worth it to play in the deck, but it definitely does have some merit in here, as it does allow you to kind of have that extra big attacker in the deck. The problem is it's just like a very low HP squishy Pokemon that you don't really want to have in play. But I do kind of get why people would play the Vulpix. We got, of course, Lost Box here in second place with a fish in the deck. Actually, opting for no Raikou, opting for a Luminion V and a double collapse stadium. So, pretty interesting build here of Lost Box. Then we got a Tina deck. I mean, yeah, Tina's still kind of hanging around. It's definitely falling off a little bit. Like, Tina's no longer as popular as it used to be. It's definitely starting to fall off, but it is still a pretty solid archetype right now. It's not bad. It's just with how popular like Lugia and Mew are, it just kind of makes Giratina like less good. But it's not like the worst deck ever or anything. Then we have an Arc Pile to look at here. We got an Arceus Zeraora Flying Pikachu. See, Arc Piles are just coming back in full swing. So yeah, this is a very interesting Arc deck. Arc with Zeraora. So using both Zeraora VSTAR and the VMAX. The VMAX here does 60 damage. For each of your opponent's Pokemon to play with an ability, so that's really good against like Charizard and stuff. And then you got Zeraora V-Star with Lightning Stormstar here if you don't use the V-Star. I don't know. It's definitely an interesting list. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. I'm not too sure what this really tries to beat, though. I mean, I guess you have the Flying Pikachu in the path. But, like, Path also shuts off Zeraora VMAX. I guess Zeraora VMAX can do a lot of damage, though. It's just 240 with its second attack. That's an interesting Arc Pile, for sure. It's an interesting Arc Pile. It's one interesting Arc Pile. We got a Palkia Shenpao deck here. Yeah, the Baxcalibur-less build with a Articuno. The Articuno could be pretty good right now, in my opinion, in our format. Definitely a really interesting archetype right now. I think Palkia's just kind of wavering around, like, pretty decent to, like, not bad. It's not really that bad of a deck. I don't think it's the worst deck. It's also not really the best deck you can play. It's just kind of, like, middle of the road, gets the job done. It's a pretty solid list. We got a Turbo Lost Zone deck here using Pidgeot V and a Ditto. So that's interesting. Then we got another Charizard in top 8 here. This one is the Arvinzard deck. Not playing the Mew EX this time, though. Just opting for the Entei and the Fish. Again, I'm not a fan of the Mew because I think Arvinzard ultimately just wants to try to get a board state where it's just Charizard and Pidgeot in play at the very least. And you just want to make it really hard for the opponent to take prizes when you just have these big, bulky Pokemon in play. And I feel like when you have stuff like Mew EX, it's just like it doesn't let you do that. But I do like Arvinzard still. It's still a pretty solid list. I think it's still the best way to play Charizard. And then in top 8, we do have one Miraidon squeaking in here. Yeah, pretty standard Miraidon list with Path. Miraidon's still not bad right now. I mean, the Charizard matchup is beatable. You just have to, like, hope that Path sticks. Next up, we got the Battle Park tournament here. And the winner, once again, was another Arc deck. We got Arc Giratina. That's 2 Arc Piles we've looked at so far. We see Arc Tina winning. Now, I like Arc Tina. I'm a fan of the deck. I still think it's best with Flying Pikachu. But I will say this, Arc Tina does kind of have a bit of an awkward matchup against Mew EX. That's one thing I thought of. So I've been debating whether or not it's worth it to play Arc Tina right now. It's, you know, for maybe like a week or two, it was like on my contenders for maybe what I would play to Toronto. But then, like, the more you think about it, it's like Mew EX just kind of bodies Giratina. It kind of, this deck is really weak to Mew EX, and Arc Tina is a bit of a, not a slower version of Lost Tina, but you don't have the consistency of Mirage Gate. So, like, you have to build up 2 Giratinas. I don't know. The deck just feels really flimsy against Mew EX, which is why I would probably want to play Flying Pikachu, because if I'm playing against Lugia, I can use Flying Pikachu instead of Mew EX, or instead of Giratina, so I don't just get, like, farmed by a Mew EX, right? But it's still, like, a pretty solid deck. I mean, Judge Path wins so many games. It's still a really fine archetype right now. I think it's good. I don't know. I don't think I would run it for Toronto or anything, but it's certainly not a bad deck by any means. It did win the tournament. Second place, we got Mew EX here. Looks like it's pretty similar to Rowan 60. It's got Box Disaster, though, in the deck, too. But we do see that one of Luxray, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Mew's still kind of on the radar. We'll have to see how it does in Sacramento. Because, again, I'm recording this before Sacramento's over. Like, I'm recording this as day one's going on. The stream for day one hasn't even started yet as I'm recording this. We got a Goodra here in top 4. Yeah, Goodra did win in the seniors division in Peoria, which is pretty cool. So I'll have to see where Goodra goes. I think it's a pretty, like, I think it's kind of like the underdog deck right now. I mean, there's also, like, the Palkia Shenpao deck, but I also think Goodra's kind of the underdog deck. It's still, like, a pretty cool list. It's a cool 60. Goodra's pretty solid right now into some matchups. I think it's decent into, like, Miraidon. It can be pretty good into Lugia, obviously, if they're not playing Urshifu, which most Lugia decks don't play Urshifu right now. So I think it's a pretty good 60 for sure. Then we got another Shenpao. We got the Canadian Shenpao deck here. Only one Bidoof, though. It's interesting to only play one Bidoof. I know you have, like, the heavy ball and stuff, but, I guess playing double gear to try to have a higher auto hitting Irida, but there's also no Iono in the deck either, so that's an interesting build. We do see Single Strike holding on here. I like Single Strike still. I'm, like, going back and forth whether or not I think Single Strike is, like, that good, because, like, it does have, like, a great matchup spread against everything. I think it's got a good Lugia Mirror matchup. I think it's got a good, it's probably not bad into, like, Arc decks if they're not playing the Pikachu or the Dura. It's probably pretty good into Shenpao and Miraidon. I think my main issue with Lugia is that its matchup against, Single Strike anyways, its matchup against Charizard is just so shaky. You do have Cobalion. The problem with playing Cobalion, though, you have to not prize a single Strike energy, which is, like, really tough to do sometimes. Not to mention, you have to make sure you get all your energy back if you try to do double Tyranitar into a Charizard, so I don't know, like, if I were to play Single Strike, I would honestly maybe just consider taking the L to Charizard, or maybe just, I don't know, I mean, maybe the Chameleon's worth it, because I guess what you can do is you can go, like, Lugia, or, like, Lugia, Eviltal. I don't know, I feel like you can't use Eviltal. I think you have to go, like, double Lugia. You have to try to knock out 2 Charizards with 2 Lugias, and then you try to finish the game with Tyranitar. I don't know, I think the matchup's just tough. And if you bench a Luminion down and you can't collapse it off the board in time, you're probably just going to lose. Because if they get to boss Luminion, game's over, right? So I don't know. I just think that Single Strike just loses really badly to Charizard. I don't even know if Cobalion really fixes it. I don't even know if Urshifu would fix it. I don't know. It just feels like at that point, maybe you just kind of take an L there. I don't know. But Single Strike does beat everything else except Charizard. The way I look at it. We got Miraidon here playing the Mew EX in the deck. Yeah, pretty standard build of Miraidon. We do have we got a Lugia to look at here. We got Colossus Lugia this time. Colossus Lugia did kind of underperform in Peoria, and everyone said it was BDIF. Again, we don't know the results of Sacramento yet, but maybe Lugia will rebound in Sacramento. I think Lugia, like, I still think Colossus Lugia is still a good deck. People say that it's bad. I think it's still good. I think that the variety of, different ways you can play it makes it really versatile right now in the meta. Yeah, Colossus Lugia, good stuff. I like it. I like the 62 with the Zard and the Mew and the stuff. I've considered double Mew in my Colossus Lugia deck just because Mew is just such a good attacker. It's just disgusting how good it is. And then in top 8 here, we do have a Miraidon deck. We got a Miraidon playing Luminion and Drapion. So kind of similar to what... it's actually playing the other Miraidon too. There you go. I wanted to look at one deck here outside top 8. We have a Zoro box outside of top 8. And it looks like it's a spread version, kind of. It's got Electivire and Braviary, but it is playing at the Aerodactyl. I'm a huge fan of Aerodactyl. I think Aerodactyl is really good right now in Zorobox. I think if Zorobox is ever to see play, I think it would have to be right now, because I think Aerodactyl is, like, the last missing piece the deck needs. I mean, obviously you're going to struggle against Lost Box, but it's like whatever at that point. Ooh, it's playing Clefable. That's kind of cool. Clefable can take an extra prize, which is kind of sick. I'll rate it. Next up, we got the Kitchen Tournament here to look at. The Kitchen Showdown. The winner was Miraidon. Pretty standard Judge Path Miraidon deck. Not playing the Flying Pikachu, opting for the Zero Aura, but also playing the Mew EX. In second place, we do have a Fusion Mew doing well with Pokemon Catcher. So the Catcher Mew deck is starting to make waves. I'm interested to see if this deck ends up going anywhere outside of just online tourney results. But Catcher definitely is an annoying card to play against when you're playing a V deck, because if, like, they flip heads and they donk you, it's like, it feels so bad. Like, it's a very high roll deck, obviously. It's super high roll. We got Guardy in second place here. Yeah, Guardy, yeah, just doing Guardy things. Yeah, I mean, Guardy, I feel like we've already kind of figured out the 60 for Guardy. So, another double Turbo Mew. Pretty similar to Rowan's list with the Path and the Luxray. Luxray, again, is really cool. We'll have to see if, we'll see how Mew does in Sacramento. Because I think Mew's honestly a good call for Sacramento. We got some Shenpao playing the Mew EX in the deck. So I'm 50-50 on whether or not I think Mew is good in the deck. I think that the problem with Mew, well, I guess in this build, it's not really the Canadian Shenpao deck, because it is a little bit more teched out. It's got Bravery Charms. Bravery Charm actually probably makes the Kolosugi matchup pretty much, like, super favorable, actually, which is kind of cool, because then Lugia can't one-shot you. The Mew's kind of cool, though. Yeah, pretty decent 60. I don't know. Shenpao's all right with Mew, I guess. I still prefer the Canadian build. We got the Raymond Long Lost Zone deck here. Albeit there's double Pokestop, but yeah, it is pretty much just Raymond 60 here from Peoria, looks like. Yeah, pretty good deck. And then we got another Guardian top 8, because Guardy is still pretty good right now. This one actually plays a Spiritomb V, Spiritomb in the deck, try to help against Mew. Honestly, I don't hate it. Mew is still kind of wavering in the meta right now. It's still like a fairly popular-ish deck, so it's not the worst card you could play, to be honest. And then we got a Lost Zone Charizard in top 8. This is a deck that I feel like is just kind of like going in and out of the popularity contest with Charizard decks. Obviously, Arczard and Galadzard have also both kind of fallen off. I think Arvinzard is now like the prime way to play it, but Lost Zone Charizard seems okay too. My issue with this deck is that I think ultimately you can have really good early games if you can like get like a huge hand like by turn 2 and like get like double Charizard or even one Charizard. But I think my issue is this deck is very susceptible to like Iono, and you don't have the free control you have with Pidgeot. But the deck kind of plays like Giratina. So I don't know. I'm still like 50-50 on the deck. I don't know if I like Lost Zone Charizard, to be honest, but I can see why some people play it. We got the morning TCG tourney next year, and the winner was Cullis Lugia. So Cullis Lugia still doing good in these online tourneys. It's not gone yet. I know the deck is starting to maybe like waver a little bit because people found that the deck's not that good. Miraidon's popular again, but Cullis Lugia is still like a pretty good deck in all honesty. Like, it's still a deck that if it gets turn 2 chops, it can almost do anything, and that's what I think is what's so good about it. Yeah, Cullis Lugia still a good deck. We're actually not seeing any Luxrays, which, you know, we saw a lot of Luxrays in the Peoria list in the day 2 video I did, but now we're not seeing as many Luxrays in the online list, which is interesting. We got another Shenpao deck here in top 8. Looks like it is the Canadian Shenpao deck here with pretty much just the straight list. We got Rapid Strike in top 4 too. Kind of one of those decks that, like, I feel like it's just kind of hindering in the meta. I do think that Rapid Strike is still fine, because if you just hit like Lost Zone and Guardy, it's good. But I think the issue is like there's a lot of matchups now. Like Miraidon can be tough. I like Miraidon's not that bad because you do have the Urshifu, obviously, but like it depends really if you can actually get like a turn 1 battle VIP and stuff. You have to get a lot of basics turn 1 in order for Miraidon not to farm you. Like, if you're playing against Miraidon, you always want to go second, and you want to just hope that you don't lose an Urshifu turn 1. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, Rapid Strike's still a pretty good deck right now. It's not a bad play, to be honest. Like, it's just Mew's kind of coming back in the meta, though, which is the only scary thing, right? But we do see a Shenpao back Celebrate deck playing a Palkia in the deck. It's actually the Canadian build, but with the Palkia squeezed in there, which is interesting. So, interesting inclusion to put the Palkia in the deck. I don't hate it. I mean, yeah, I don't hate it. Not the worst thing ever. Gives you, like, another backup attacker. Got another Turbo Lost Zone deck here playing Pidgeot and Dragonite. No Raikou today. Another Zorobox to look at, baby. Let's go. This Zorobox, again, kind of playing some spread elements here with Braviary and Electivire. Playing Scyther in the deck with Cleaver and Scizor. No Aerodactyl, but I mean, you're already kind of hitting for weakness against Charizard. This deck does play a little bit more draw, which I like. It's playing 4 Iono and 1 Research. Yeah, it's not bad. I like it. I'm happy to see Zorobox do well. I think at this point in time, Zorobox is maybe the best it could be. Unless they print like some... I guess when Jirachi comes out, Zorobox can be the best it could be. Another Guardian top 8 here. This time it is playing the Mew in the deck. Also playing a Clara. It's a card we haven't seen in a while. And then also Reversal Energy. Just 1, though, instead of 2. Interesting. And then in top 8, we got yet another Miraidon deck. Yeah, Miraidon, once again, just doing Miraidon things. Yeah. And then we do have a Arc pile I want to look at here from Michael Catron. So this is an interesting deck. I saw this on Twitter, but it's an Arc Dura deck playing Cleaver and Scizor. So this might look like a complete meme, and it kind of is a meme deck. Like, I don't think this is like a deck you would be taking too seriously, but it is a cool concept. Arceus with Cleaver and Scizor is cool. Obviously, you don't really have synergy with them. With Arceus, you can't put energy on them or anything, but in theory, he's trying to counter big things. I mean, you got Scissor and Cleaver, which can be really good one-prize attackers into Guardy. Miraidon can get farmed by Cleaver. You do also have Scizor for Shenpao. And then you have the Dura for Lugia. Like, you just kind of just have natural synergy. I like it. It's a really cool archetype that we see here. And, yeah, I'm curious to see if this is a deck that could be played more. I don't know. I like it. It's a cool 60, and I definitely would be down to maybe try this because it looks cool. I mean, the idea of playing these one prizes with Arc, it might not seem good in theory, but it can work because you have these attackers that use one energy. You don't have to, like, build them up manually. You just attack with them. You don't have to, like, do any shenanigans to build them up. It's a kind of a cool idea for sure. Now we look at the late night tourneys. And the winner of the late night tourney was another Arc pile. This one was Arc Slacking Hammers. So Slacking Hammers is definitely an archetype we've seen before. I think before Obsidian Flames was a thing, this was like kind of seen a bit of play, and then I feel like maybe Charizard heard it. But it is a Judge Path deck, and it also plays Crushing Hammers. So you do have a lot of really strong and annoying combos in this deck with the hammers and the Judge Path combo. Obviously good in Arc Mirror because you can like flip heads on random hammers and stuff like that. And removing energy is always really, really good, obviously. So, and even against stuff like Lugia, this could be annoying. The slacking is your big heavy hitter. You have the Spirit Tomb in the deck for some disruption with the slacking, and double Chance Care to make your things very tanky. It's a very annoying deck to play against. Like if I were to play against this, I'd be like, oh no. I'm interested to see if this is an Arc pile that could get played more going forward, or if it's like a one-time thing. It did win the late night, keep in mind. Second place, we do have another Lost Zone deck. It was a Lost Zone Charizard EX deck, actually. Thought it was going to be Turbo. This build does have a few tech cards. It's playing Iono and Irida. Irida can get you Greninja Manaphy or plus rare candy. So that's a cool idea, I guess. I haven't really seen Irida on Lost Zone decks before. That is an interesting inclusion. Got second place, so the 60 definitely has something going for it. And we got another Arc pile. We got another Arc pile here, and that is going to be the Arc Coco Pikachu deck. This is a deck we haven't really seen too much in a long time. I don't think this was ever like one of the best Arc pile decks, but this is one that always kind of does randomly well in late night tourneys or whatever, and then people play it, and it's like, it's mid. It's a cool idea, though. Coco being able to paralyze right now is good. Paralyzing is actually not bad against Charizard specifically, and then you have the Flying Pikachu, which is good against like Lugia and Shenpao specifically. I like it. It's a lot of turbo stuff. You got the 4 shoes. You got a decent bit of supporters. You actually play an Ortega here. Opponent reveals their hand. You choose a card you find there, put at the bottom of their deck. If you put a card on the bottom of your opponent's deck this way, your opponent may draw a card. So I don't know what that's for specifically. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what matchup that's for specifically. That's an interesting card to see though. Got the league headquarters to help against Lost Box. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool idea. It's Judge Path, Paralysis. Yeah, it's a cool concept. Coco Arc. I mean, it's one of those like Arc piles that never really takes off, but it does well in online tourneys. We see some Lost Zone here. Lost Tina doing pretty well with 4 shoes. Wow, that's a turbo Lost Tina. Got a Lost Tina to look at here. Looks like yeah, a bit more of a standard Lost Tina 60. Surprisingly, I think the Arc decks beat it. I mean, I guess Arc Slacking would be better against Arc Tina because you have like 4 Judge. Arc Coco, a little sketchy, but it's all right. There's a control deck here in top 8 too. Snorlax Stall Control. There you go, Snorlax Stall. That is definitely an annoying deck. I guess with the return of Arc piles, Snorlax maybe gets a bit worse, depending on whether or not they have like the Shred Attack or not. But I mean, I don't hate it, man. Snorlax definitely is a pretty annoying deck to play against. And with now that we have like Erica's Invitation stuff, it's easy to trap stuff in play and make it really hard for the opponent to be able to play the game, which is kind of cool. Got another Lost Zone Charizard here in top 8. Yeah, Lost Zard EX. Seen a lot more of that now. I think we've seen more Lost Zards and Arvenzards at this point in this video, which is kind of crazy because we have another one. I think this might be, yeah, it's Radiant Charizard this time though. Radiant Charizard, Lost Box, pretty good 60. I think it's actually pretty similar to the one that got top 8 in Peoria, it looks like. But I'm a fan of this deck. I think this deck is still pretty fine and pretty solid. I'm a fan of it. I like it. I guess outside the top 8, we do have a Lugia to look at here. It looks like a single strike Lugia with the Luxray and triple Snorlax. That's a lot of Snorlaxes. And then finally, we got one last late night tourney to look at here. Late night number 142. The winner of it was, of course, the Kyogre Turbo Lost Box deck. Not like Andrew's list from Pittsburgh, but it is still Kyogre with like the turbo engine with the Dragonite and the Raikou. Again, we'll have to see how Kyogre does in Sacramento, coming off of the back-to-back regional wins. We do see the Lost Tina doing pretty good still. I mean, it's fine. Lost Tina's all right. I guess now that Lugia's kind of fallen off a little bit, I guess Lost Tina comes back a little bit. Got Rapid Strike in top 4 too. I mean, yeah, with the 2 Lost Zone decks in top 4, that's interesting. We got another Lost Zone deck. A lot of Lost Zone in this late night tourney, damn. Looks like it is the Lost Zone Turbo deck with the Dragonite, the 3 Sableye. Wow, 3 Sableye. Yeah, another Turbo. Oh, it's Andrew Hedrick. Look at that. And we have Michael Catron back again with another Arc Pile. So this one I did see on Twitter too. Now this one looks very interesting. So this is another very unique Arc Pile. So the idea behind this Arc Pile is it's kind of like a counter anti-meta deck. So the idea of the deck is you have 3 really good V Pokemon to help you out. You got Urshifu, which is probably just really good against Miraidon, and then you have Flame Pikachu, good against Shenpao and Lugia, and then you got the Alolan Vulpix here, which is good against Charizard, and I guess Shenpao, depending on the build, but it's an interesting 60. It's even playing the Mawile and the Fish and the Alakazam. Yeah, really interesting Arc Pile. I'm not like this could be a meme, but it is a late night tourney, so you gotta like the late night tourneys. You sometimes take a little bit more seriously with the results. Because the late night tourneys do tend to have a higher caliber of players, more people playing them, and more like top players around the world will play in a late night as opposed to like a random like tournament that has like 80 plus players. You know what I mean? Like I'm not hating on any tournament specifically. I'm just saying the late night usually attracts like the higher caliber players to want to play in them, because the late night usually has like a more I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but it's got more of like a professional approach. I don't even know if that's the word I was looking for, but you get my point. So, I don't know. This is definitely an interesting 60. I would maybe want to try it. The Urshifu is really cool. I've tried Urshifu with Arceus before. It's kind of weak because, like, the problem with Urshifu and Arceus, you have to play the Switch. You can't really play Tower. This 60 does not play Tower. It is an interesting 60. I guess you do get access to some rapid flow plays. In open deckless tourney, though, they're not going to match Mana Fee. But I guess the Urshifu just kind of gives you, like, a really easy matchup against Miraidon. Because you can go, like, Gale Thrust into a Rapid Flow. You can take, like, 5 prizes almost with that, which is kind of cool. So, I don't know. It's an interesting 60 for sure. It's an interesting 60. The Urshifu will have to experiment with more. I guess it is mainly the best fighting Pokemon you could pair with Arceus to counter Miraidon. Because it's the bulkiest Pokemon. It also attacks for a single energy. It's just a little bit more gimmicky with what it wants to do. Because you have to play a Rapstrike energy, which you cannot attach to Arceus. So that's interesting. We got another Lost Tina in top 8. A lot of Lost Tina. Dang, yeah, Lost Tina just rebounding. Another Trekking Shoes Lost Tina deck. That's an interesting archetype. We got another double Turbo Mew. Not playing the Luxray, but just playing extra grabbers. Playing 3 grabbers in the deck. And we got another Lost Box. A lot of Lost Zone in this late night. Jeez. More than half of the top 8 was Lost Zone. That's crazy. Turbo Lost Box with a Tropius. Obviously pretty good against Charizard EX. It doesn't one-shot Charizard. It does do a nice chunk of damage against Charizard, though. It's actually playing both stones, actually. The Sky and the Forest Seal Stone, which is kind of cool. And I think that's about it for that late night's top 8. We got some decks outside the top 8 here. But yeah, there you go. That is it for today's online tourney look at video. It's been 2 weeks since I've uploaded, so we had a decent bit of tournaments to look at, and it looks like Arc Piles are starting to make their way back into the format now. We saw quite a few. We saw Arc Coco, Arc Urshifu, Pika, Vulpix, Arc Slacking Hammers, Arc Duraludon, Cleaver, Scizor. I know we saw another Arc deck, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, there's a lot of Arc Piles coming back, and I like Arc Piles. I'm a fan of Arc decks, and Arc doing good again makes me pretty happy. But yeah, there you go. That is the online meta right now. Again, with Sacramento happening right now as I'm recording this, we're definitely going to see more results. I'm definitely going to look. Oh yeah, Arctina was another one. I'm going to look at more results to see what else was doing pretty good in Sacramento. So I'm definitely going to look at the day 2 decks for Sacramento, and we'll see what kind of is the development there as we head into Toronto. Toronto is now 2 weeks away. It is coming up fast, and I definitely want to make sure I am prepared and ready for Toronto. Hope you enjoyed the video here on the second channel. If you did, leave a like. Let me know what you think of the decks that we looked at today in the comments below. And if you haven't subbed to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Leave a link to Play.Limitless down below. If you want to play in any of these online tourneys or look at the results yourself, check them out, and I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.